Hello, welcome to Heady Remarks. I'm here alone today. It's just me and Archie. We're gonna talk about the Fukushima nuclear meltdown in 2011 and just nuclear energy in general, I guess. And I also pulled up some footage of nuclear bombs going off just because I like watching them. But people do sort of associate nuclear bombs with nuclear energy, which is actually one of the things sort of holding it back as far as being accepted as an energy source that we should use more. I kind of think we should use it more, even though there are these occasional meltdowns. We had the 1979 3 Mile Island. No, nobody died on that one. There's a lot of scaremongering, according to John Stossel. I pulled up his little video that he's got too. Where's that? I love John Stossel. And then, so there's that. There's 3 Mile Island in 1979. There's the Chernobyl disaster in 1986. And then there's Fukushima in 2011, which was a tsunami. Wait, no. It started with an earthquake. Okay, sorry. Started with an earthquake, which triggered a tsunami, which led to that meltdown. Okay, I found his video. I hope I'm allowed to watch it, because I'm going to.
The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change.
Climate change is the existential threat.
I don't think it's existential, but climate change may become a real problem. So it's odd that the activists rarely mention nuclear power.
Today, around 75% of France's power comes from nuclear energy.
And much of Sweden's too. Nuclear energy cut their carbon emissions. But now, frightened activists want nothing to...
I believe 10% of the world's energy comes from nuclear.
...do with it.
We're calling for shut down.
The future of Earth is not going to be brought to us by nuclear power.
At Grand Central Station, these protesters imitated a nuclear meltdown. Absurdly, nuclear power came to a near halt in America.
Orphic egg, sorry. Don't forget the tons of barrels of nuclear waste dumped in the oceans up to 1993. There's a wiki page on it. Did we stop in 93? Hold on, let me just pull it up before I forget. What do I do? Nuclear barrels, ocean. Well, here's an independent.co article about it. Oh, wait, no, that's about Fukushima, though. The disposal of nuclear waste into the world's oceans. Ocean disposal of radioactive waste. Wikipedia. Oh, okay. These are all my other ones. Dang it. Where is it? Ah. Cool. Hey! Hello, Pale Horse! 1111.
40 years ago because of a partial meltdown at 3 Mile Island, Pennsylvania.
The United States' worst commercial nuclear power accident.
That worst accident killed no one. It would have been largely forgotten, except that by coincidence, days before, Hollywood released a movie that suggested an accident could burn a hole all the way to China.
Today, only a handful of people know what it really means. They're scared.
Michael Douglas
saw that and freaked out.
Environmentalist Josh Goldstein says nuclear power can save us from climate change. And we'd have more nuclear power were it not for that movie and the media hysteria that followed.
The first step in a nuclear nightmare.
It led to the No Nukes concert in 1979 in New York.
I live in terror of the next accident.
Activist Harvey
Wasserman.
Wasserman turned anti-nuclear after 3 Mile Island.
It's a virtual inevitability that we're going to have another disaster.
His argument has basically won.
The nuclear industry is being dismantled.
What was so terrible about 3 Mile Island? No one died.
I'm one of 2 journalists who went
Did anyone
into
get
central
hurt or
Pennsylvania
sick?
after the accident at 3 Mile Island, interviewing people. They're showing me their tumors, their hair loss, their lesions.
Nikki Fruit Loops, 370. How many batteries have you thrown in the ocean today? One.
But it's bunk. It's been
Should be better.
studied.
Just kidding.
People didn't die.
You know, you can recharge batteries. My stepdad would do that. And I thought that was cool and smart. If you can reuse them, why not, you know?
lose hair and get cancer, and they
It's a bad
attribute it
thing.
to 3 Mile Island, but it's not true.
Having been there, it's my clear assertion that people were killed at 3 Mile Island.
Actual scientists couldn't find a threat to health. 3 Mile Island was here, where there's less cancer than in most of the state.
Nobody was harmed at 3 Mile Island.
But what about the Fukushima disaster?
Nobody was even
The
harmed.
tsunami was
Whoa.
real.
Oh my God!
And
Look
we
at
were
those
told
cars
there were
crashing into each other in the
dangerous
ocean.
radiation leaks.
There was heightened radiation, but it was all at this low level below what we consider to be safe.
The radiation never amounted to dangerous to beyond normal approved levels?
That's right. What harmed people was when everyone freaked out and ordered a massive sudden evacuation, ripped people out of hospital rooms.
People panicked.
And that caused suicide, depression, all kinds of terrible
Suicide.
effects. The fear of radioactivity really did kill people.
There has been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union.
One accident did kill people, Chernobyl. It happened in the old socialist Soviet Union, where those who built the plant cut corners to please the dictators.
Investigations revealed.
So Stassel's saying that it's like the Soviet Union's laziness and cutting of corners, and it was human error, right? As well as investigations revealed both procedural and design errors.
Both procedural and design errors.
No Chernobyl-like plant will be built again.
Nikki Fruit Loops, none. You haven't done your part. Yep.
But even including Chernobyl's deaths, nuclear power is much safer than coal, oil, natural gas, almost as safe as wind and solar. Facts are on your side. How are you losing this battle?
There's been a campaign of fear-mongering around radioactivity and radiation and nuclear power for decades now.
Nuclear waste.
We're told the waste from nuclear plants will kill us.
A serious health hazard.
What about the waste? That's concentrated, and it lives just about forever.
If you took all the nuclear waste, all the spent fuel from all America's reactors for 60 years, it would fit into a Walmart. It's literally a small problem.
We kill many, many more people by using a lot of fossil fuels.
Many environmentalists say nuclear power is the only solution to climate change.
You do not cool the planet with a radioactive fire that burns at 570 degrees Fahrenheit.
The speediest drop in greenhouse gas pollution on record occurred in France when that country transitioned to nuclear.
I guarantee you, France will not be building any more nuclear power plants.
Yes, the anti-nuclear movement stopped nuclear in Europe too, but
other places in the world are building them like crazy. China is putting a nuclear reactor on the grid every 2 to 3 months.
And America may soon finish one. 15 years after approval was sought, it still isn't operating. It took 6 years just to get permission to build. It didn't always take so long.
So do
Blue
we not
dots in this
have
graph
any?
show construction time before 3 Mile Island, and in red what happened to plants
Now I have
being
to look
built
that up.
after. Because America more than doubled construction time and cost by increasing regulations. It takes 12 years to build the plant because there are so many regulations. You want more?
Yes, actually, I do.
We could have clean power from nuclear plants if silly people like you weren't scaring people about the wrong things.
If you want to accuse us of
Silly
having
people like
raised the cost of building new nuclear plants by demanding
Archie, don't hit me. He headbutts my arm. Mickey Fruit Loops, 370. It was a nuclear reaction that couldn't be stopped. No fail-safe. No fail-safe. The Chinese ones are so safe. Are you being sarcastic? I can't tell. Pellhorse 1111 says, if nuclear is so great, how come it always requires a tax hike to give some billionaire a subsidy? All reactors are financed by government subsidies, not private investors. Didn't know that. Mickey Fruit Loops. There's one nuke plant near me about 2 hours south in Florida, but they only burn coal now. They just still cool the old rods. Huh. That's bunting. Bunting? Sorry.
Any more regulation. I plead guilty.
Activists like him say countries can power themselves with rooftop solar panels and wind. Improving technology has lowered their prices, so they're now as cheap as nuclear. But there's a problem. What do we do when the wind doesn't blow or the sun doesn't shine?
Well, usually it's one or the other.
When it isn't, he says, store energy in batteries.
We are having a major technological and industrial revolution in battery capacity.
Batteries are environmentally nasty.
They can be, and that needs to be dealt with.
The idea that a miracle battery is going to come along and save us, it's completely untested.
Nuclear energy has been tested. It could reduce greenhouse gases and keep energy cheap, if only we didn't fear it so much.
The whole regulatory system is crazy because we're regulating this energy source as though it were the most dangerous thing out there. And it's actually the safest thing.
It is. It's been pretty.
People on both sides of the issue have reason to lie, I suppose. Oh, bunting is cat bumping their head on you. Okay, gotcha. I thought you were talking about some sort of psychological, like, bunting or something. I don't know. Bunting! Ha! It's so cute. He does that a lot. Pillhorse. Ha! I was thinking about baseball. Yeah. Orphic egg. Have you seen the Cherenkov radiation? It's that blue glow of certain reactors underwater. And it's technically not light. Have to look that up now. That sounds weird. Cherenkov radiation. And then we'll go back to Stossel.
Say for 70 years when we first entered
the new world of the atomic age.
If you like this video, please subscribe. If you've already subscribed,
Quiet, you.
hit the no.
Okay. I hope it's not on stop sharing for a second. I'm using Brave, so it's got like a delay and it's kind of slow, kind of sucks. But, you know. What? Okay. You could start a fire by just poking your phone battery, says Nikki Fruit Loops. Really? By poking it? With what? Something special? Cherenkov radiation. Ooh. Is there a video? What is it? What is it a ghostly bluish hue? My necklace has a ghostly bluish hue. It's labradorite. You have to turn it in the light and you can see this blue ghostly hue. But anyway, particles faster than the speed of light? What is Cherenkov light? Cherenkov light. I'm probably saying it wrong. Come on, Brave. I just hit the wrong button. Damn, double down. No. Archie, no! What is this? What a disaster. Okay, we're We're back on it. Okay, please don't unmute. It's so
Shrink of light is an effect where a charged particle is going faster than the speed of light in a medium. Don't get excited here, okay?
Yeah.
So when people say nothing can go faster than the speed of light, and that includes neutrinos, okay?
They don't, yeah.
They don't. They're leaving a little bit out of the phrasing. Nothing can go faster than the speed of light in a vacuum.
Just show
And
it.
it turns out that light, as it travels through matter, gets slowed down. That's an effect called refraction. So you might have seen a beam of light go into some material that's relatively transparent, and it bends. If you put a pencil into a glass of water, it'll look like the pencil is bent. That effect means that it's possible for a particle to actually be traveling faster than the speed of light in the material. Now, when a plane goes faster than the speed of sound, you get a boom, right? You get a sonic boom. And when a particle goes faster than this...
She's just battling. Stab it, and it reacts with oxygen. Weird. Your phone battery. It's why you can't ship them by air. Really? Hellhorse says, thorium reactors are the real question to me. They have basically no chance of melting down, but the research and investment was not done. Interesting. Meow. Meow, meow. He's laying down now. Well, now he's standing up again. Because we had all this plutonium and uranium laying around from the military industrial complex wanting to use it for something to make money. What boring hair. Hers? I kind of like it.
Light in a
Simple.
medium, you get a photonic boom. You get a boom of light coming out.
Straight and simple.
And that light that's coming out is this beautiful blue color when you look at it. In the visible, what you can actually see is this absolutely gorgeous color called shrink of light. And the shrink of light you can then detect. And you detect it with a kind of detector which is called a phototube, which actually works on a principle that Einstein figured out. It's what he won the Nobel Prize for.
Kind of just want to like see it instead of just like. So slow. Does this have no sound? 0 to 80% power, steady state, and down. Oh, there it goes. Poor gal can't help it. At least it isn't a blue mohawk. SJW. Yeah. I don't know. I hate my hair, I'll tell you that. Can't always have control over the matter. Mine's really thin. I have thick eyebrows and thin hair on my head. It doesn't match. It doesn't match. Well, this is cool. It's like, reminds me of Watchmen, that blue guy, kind of. Like, he lives in there. He's walking around naked in there. Brighter as it goes. Oh, it's going back down now. Well, all right. It's interesting. What about this one? Man, the whole thing with Japan, they get so many earthquakes. They just recently got another one. I think it was like 6.8 or something. Pretty big. The one that triggered the tsunami in 2011 was 9.0. Insane. I don't know how high it goes, but very blue. Oh wait. Yeah, where's Dr. Manhattan? The tsunami footage is wicked. Yeah, it's scary. You saw those cars splashing together in the ocean? I wonder what that sounded like. Oh, what? Was that it? That was stupid. I thought it would be like, I want more. Maybe this. I believe it was only like 6 meters tall. Can you see it? So I was reading that if the water dramatically pulls away from the shore, like recedes away farther into the ocean, that's like the sign that a tsunami is coming. And that if you see it, you're not going to be able to outrun it. You have to somehow try to seek higher ground immediately. But like it said that if you're seeing the wave, it's pretty late in the game, possibly too late. Pellhorse 1111 says there was a really interesting new Unsolved Mysteries episode about all the ghosts that have been seen in that area since the tsunami. Really? Yes, if it goes in, you run! Get up! Get up! Drawing it away. That's it. Spooky, spooky. Is this the part where it's pulling it away? Is it the wall that's only 6 meters high? Like, the tsunami doesn't even have to be very tall to be very destructive. It's moving fast. Scary. Yeah, there's like people driving in their cars. Fukushima is super haunted now. Nikki says, no, this is the water coming in. Watch the wall. Oh, this is it coming in. It feels so... Oh my goodness! That's so scary. Holy crap. Wow. You know, it's weird. Wow. Just boats coming into town now. All you hear is horns till they quit. Oh, wow. took quite a while for many cars. Ugh. So they're just automatically going off. Whoa, it's just sinking. Did they get a warning? Is there a way to... I mean, right after an earthquake, maybe they know to be careful? Amber alert. That was some scary stuff. And it just keeps coming, then pulls back and comes in again. Oh, I'd like to... what the tsunami warning was. I'd like to know what the tsunami warning was, but I can't post links. Oh. Huh. So... there's this. From 1946, the ocean disposal of radioactive waste thing. From 1946 through 1993, 13 countries used ocean disposal or ocean dumping as a method to dispose of nuclear radioactive waste. The waste materials included both liquids and solids housed in various containers, as well as reactor vessels with and without spent or damaged nuclear fuel. Since 1993, ocean disposal has been banned by international treaties. But didn't Japan just say they were doing that? Ocean floor disposal or subseabed disposal, a more deliberate method of delivering radioactive waste to the ocean floor and depositing it into the seabed, was studied by the United Kingdom and Sweden but never implemented. 46 to 93. Wow. Disposal projects attempted to locate ideal dumping sites based on depth, stability, and currents, and to treat, solidify, and contain the waste. However, some dumping only involved diluting the waste with surface water or used containers that imploded at depth. So, I'm just going to sort of go look at my notes here for a second. 16,000 deaths, March 11, 2011, Fukushima. 16,000 deaths from the tsunami, that is. Or is it the earthquake? Maybe it's the earthquake too. 6,000 injured, 2,500 missing, 9.0 magnitude. Most powerful earthquake in Japan. The one that we had here in Utah a couple of years ago was like 5.6, and it felt pretty big, but we're not used to that here. Fourth most powerful earthquake in the world since 1900. Worst nuclear disaster since the 1986 Chernobyl disaster. What are tsunamis? Tsunamis are, sorry, I'm an idiot. Tsunamis are ocean waves triggered by large earthquakes that occur near or under the ocean. Volcanic eruptions, submarine landslides. Oh, it just means landslides under water. Onshore landslides, in which large volumes of debris fall into the water. Scientists do not use the term tidal wave because these waves are not caused by tides. Tsunami waves are unlike typical ocean waves generated by wind and storms, and most tsunamis do not break like the curling, wind-generated waves popular with surfers. Tsunamis typically consist of multiple waves that rush ashore like a fast-rising tide with powerful currents. When tsunamis approach shore, they behave like a very fast-moving tide that extends much farther inland than normal water. If a tsunami causing disturbance occurs close to the coastline, a resulting tsunami can reach coastal communities within minutes. A rule of thumb is that if you see the tsunami, it is too late to outrun it. Even small tsunamis, 6 feet in height, for example, are associated with extremely strong currents capable of knocking someone off their feet. As a result of complex interactions with the coast, tsunami waves can persist for many hours. As with many natural phenomena, tsunamis can range in size from micro tsunamis detectable only by sensitive instruments on the ocean floor to mega tsunamis that can affect the coastlines of entire oceans, as with the Indian Ocean tsunami of 2004. I think I remember that. Indonesia? I remember people fundraising for that. Oh, that's right. They have buoys that detect depth drops and rises. Oh. How do I click on that? Wait. I don't know how to click on your link. Huh. I might just have to type it. Okay, let's see. Is there a dot? YouTube dot watch? Question mark me. Is this difficult? Did I do it? Oh crap, it says site can't be reached. I must have made a mistake. Maybe that dot's not there. Shoot. I did something wrong. I'm sorry. I'm too stupid to pull up the link, apparently. Is there space? That makes sense. An L? Maybe that's an L. Whoopsie. It doesn't know what I'm trying to do. Is it? Oh, I got it. Okay. We got it. We got it. I just watched The Mist. I just thought of that. I just watched it like, when did I watch it? Friday night.
をいたしているところでございます。このような対応を講じまして、現金給付と、それから緊急地震速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。
Prepare for powerful tremors.
緊急地震速報です。
9.1?
強い揺れに警戒してください。現物給付のバランスに努めているところで。緊急地震速報です。
It's kind of a cute noise.
次の地域では強い揺れに警戒してください。宮城県、岩手県、福島県、秋田県、山形県です。揺れが来るまではわずかな時間しかありません。
I only have short amount of time before shaking
安
arrives.
全を守ってください。倒れやすい家具などからは離れてください。また、上から落ちてくるものに気をつけてください。緊急地震速報が出ました。宮城県、岩手県、福島県、秋田県、
I wonder how
山
much
形県です。
of a warning they get.
怪我をしないように身の安全を
Please
確保して
ensure
くだ
your
さい。
own personal safety.
倒れやすい家具などからは離れてください。
I guess that's it. Bling bling is what it did. That's the warning they got when the video, is at the end. Oh. I see.
今この国会でも揺れを感じて
Right
いま
now
す。
I can feel some shaking.
先ほど国会の中の揺れがまだ続いています。
The shaking is continuing in the national diet.
揺れが始まってから10秒以上
It
経
has
過しま
been
した。
more than 10 seconds
次第に
since the shaking has started. Ew.
国会中継の途中ですが、地震津波関連の情報をお伝えします。今、東京のスタジオも揺れています。東京のスタジオも揺れています。緊急地震速報が出ました。宮城県、岩手県、福島県、秋田県、山形県に緊急地震速報です。 また今東京渋谷のスタジオも揺れを感じています。東京渋谷のスタジオも揺れています。強い揺れを観測した地域の皆
They
さんにお
said
伝え
that this
し
could
ます。
never
落ち
happen
着いて
again
行
at
動
that
してください。
plant.
揺れが収まってから火の始末をしてください。まず上から落ちてくるものや倒れてくるものから身を守ってください。現在東京渋谷のスタジオが大きく揺れています。東京渋谷のスタジオが大きく揺れています。建物の倒壊や山崩れ、崖崩れの恐れがあります。上から落ちてくるもの、倒れてくるものから身を守ってください。今、東京渋谷のスタジオが非常に大きく揺れています。東京の渋谷のスタジオが大きく揺れています。上から落ちてくるもの、倒れてくるものからまず身を守ってください。揺れが収まるまでしばらく安全な場所にいてください。揺れが収まってから火の始末をしてください。NHK では新しい情報が入り次第お伝えします。テレビやラジオのスイッチを切らないでください。午後2時46分頃、東北地方で強い地震がありました。震度7が宮城県北部です。震度7が宮城県北部。また、震度5
When it
弱が
goes to the
山形県
digital
震度
warning
6強が
that
宮
this
城
is
県
the
中部
warning sent to everyone about tsunami, it cuts off all TV warnings and radio and goes off on their phones in
岩
Japan.
手県内陸北部、岩手県内陸南部、宮城県南部などとなっています
Godzilla! Yeah, Godzilla did come. Wasn't that like a nuclear thing? Well, I guess Stossel just said that. Yeah, Godzilla and the whole. Actually, I can't remember. Is that the phone one? The entire shore there, huh?
ているのは岩手県、宮城県、福島県です。海岸や川の河口付近には絶対に近づかないでください。次に津波警報が出ている沿岸です。北海道太平洋沿岸です。今津波にか
So about 2 minutes is how long they got a warning. Oh, before or for how before it hit it? About 4 minutes.
伊豆諸島です。いずれも2メートルから1メートルの
That's
波が
not very
到達
much
す
of
る
a
と予
warning.
想されています。もう一度大津波警報の出ている沿岸をお伝えします。岩手県3メートル、宮城県6メートル、福島県3メートルです。大津波警報が出ている。
Huh. So if you see it, it's too late. You don't get much of a warning. Even small tsunamis are associated with strong currents, knock you off your feet, persist for many hours, as with many natural micro. Did I already read this? If you hear a tsunami warning or if you feel strong shaking at the coast or see very unusual wave activity, yeah. It's important to move to high ground, stay away from the coast. What is it about an earthquake that causes a tsunami? Although earthquake magnitude is one factor that affects tsunami generation, there are other important factors to consider. The earthquake must be a shallow marine event that displaces seafloor. Thrust earthquakes, as opposed to strike slip, are far more likely to generate tsunamis, but small tsunamis have occurred in a few cases from large, for example, greater than M8 strike slip earthquakes. I don't really know what these words are meaning. Note the following are general guidelines based on historical observations and in accordance with procedures of NOAA's Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. Magnitudes below 6.5, earthquakes of this magnitude are very unlikely to trigger a tsunami. So it has to be pretty darn big. But the tsunami arrived quick. By this point, first tsunamis were already hitting. That quickly. Magnitudes between 6.5 and 7.5. Earthquakes of this size do not usually produce destructive tsunamis. Wow, that's pretty amazing, actually. Those are considered pretty big for earthquakes. However, small sea level changes might be observed in the vicinity of the epicenter. Tsunamis capable of producing damage or casualties are rare in this magnitude range, but have occurred due to secondary effects such as landslides or submarine slumps. Magnitudes between 7.6 and 7.8. Earthquakes of this size might produce destructive tsunamis, especially near the epicenter. At greater distances, small sea level changes might be observed. Tsunamis capable of producing damage at great distances are rare in the magnitude range. Magnitude 7.9 and greater, destructive local tsunamis are possible near the epicenter, and significant sea level changes and damage might occur in a broader region. Note that with a magnitude 9.0 earthquake, there's a possibility of an aftershock of magnitude 7.5 or greater. And then I had just like stuff about nuclear power. Nuclear power is a clean and efficient way of boiling water to make steam, which turns turbines to produce electricity. Nuclear power plants use low enriched uranium fuel to produce electricity through a process called fission. Yeah, because there's fission and then there's fusion. Oh, I already saw it. Okay. The splitting of uranium atoms in a nuclear reactor. Uranium fuel consists of small, hard ceramic pellets that are packaged into long vertical tubes. Bundles of this fuel are inserted into the reactor. A single uranium pellet, slightly larger than a pencil eraser, contains the same energy as a ton of coal, 3 barrels of oil, or 17,000 cubic feet of natural gas. Each uranium fuel pellet provides up to 5 years of heat for power generation, and because uranium is one of the world's most abundant metals, it can provide fuel for the world's commercial nuclear plants for generations to come. Nuclear power offers many benefits for the environment as well. Okay, this ought to be good. Well, Stossel said that, I can't remember, greenhouse gases went down in France. Power plants don't burn any materials, so they produce no combustion byproducts. Additionally, because they don't produce greenhouse gases, nuclear plants help protect air quality and mitigate climate change. See, I am sort of there is a lot of scaremongering about it, but I don't know, you could produce so much energy out of it. But I was thinking it's sort of like a vulnerability, like if you're having like war times or whatever. I pulled up an article about, and there's some people that, some people who think that radiation sickness is like a psyop, but I'm not really going down that road. Isn't it supposed to be radiation that makes us not believe that we were able to go to the moon? I mean, for those who believe that we didn't. Isn't the reason for that supposed to be that you can't survive the radiation belt or whatever? Let me share this. Share. So, Russian troops withdrawn from Chernobyl with acute radiation sickness. Yeah, some people don't think that, they think like this is like a psyop, that there's not really radiation, that it's like trying to keep us from using nuclear energy. Have you heard that kind of stuff? Like that they're just lying about the danger of exposure to the radiation. I'm not into that. I think it probably is a real thing. I think I have so many links up again as usual. But okay, what?
So that gives you an indication that these troops
Here you go.
Do not know what they're doing.
Whatever. Several hundred Russian troops have been withdrawn from the Chernobyl nuclear facility in Ukraine after suffering from acute radiation sickness and are being treated in Belarus, according to reports. The Pentagon confirmed earlier that the Russian forces began to pull out from the defunct facility, which was taken on the first day of the invasion after a pledge by the Kremlin to scale back its offensive. I still don't know if this is true. I don't know. But an employee at the Public Council at the State Agency of Ukraine for Exclusive Zone Management said the soldiers had fled while irradiated and bused to a medical facility in Gomel, Belarus, the Mirror reported. Another batch of irradiated terrorists who seized the Chernobyl zone was brought to the Belarusian Radiation Medicine Center in Gomel today. Yaroslav Yemelyanenko wrote on Facebook. Have you dug trenches in the Red Forest, bitches? Now live the rest of your life. Now live the rest of your short life with this. There are rules for handling this area. They are mandatory because radiation is physics. It works regardless of status or shoulder ranks, he wrote. Okay. With minimal intelligence and commander soldiers, these consequences could have been avoided, Yemelyanenko added. Word about the sickness came soon after Ukrainian officials claimed that Russian troops looted and destroyed a specialist laboratory containing highly active radioactive samples from the decommissioned nuclear plant. The lab contained highly active samples and samples of radionuclides that are now in the hands of the enemy, the stage agency said in a Facebook post, referring to unstable atoms that release radiation. The Ukrainian agency had said it hoped Russian troops will harm themselves and not the civilized world. President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Russia of using the exclusion zone around Chernobyl to prepare new attacks. A U.S. official told Agence France Presse this week that Russian troops were walking away from the Chernobyl facility and moving into Belarus. Chernobyl is an area where they are beginning to reposition some of their troops, walking away from the Chernobyl facility and moving into Belarus. Okay, we think that they are leaving. I can't tell you that they're all gone, the official added. Oh. Meanwhile, the head of Ukraine's state nuclear company said Thursday that the UN nuclear watchdog will establish online monitoring missions to the Russian-occupied Chernobyl. Okay, well, anyway, I don't know. Interesting. Did I already watch this? Oh, I think this is like a whole long documentary that I watched. The guys that were like stuck in the
footage captures the impact of the devastating tsunami that hit Japan 1 year ago.
I looked in my rearview mirror and saw an even larger wave than the one in front of me.
As it rose higher, you could see people who weren't able to escape.
I felt the terrible power of nature. I was not.
Pelhor says it's not just the potential dangers, it's how many of the reactors sit right on the damn ring of fire just waiting for a cataclysm. And there's some videos out there of guys sneaking into the Chernobyl area, camping out in the safe areas from time to time. Crazy time capsule to see in parts of the city. Interesting. Wonder if there's any ghosts there. Why am I feel like I've heard of something like Ghosts of Chernobyl or something.
Expecting that nature could be.
I watched the HBO show. I thought it was a pretty good show.
And amateur photographers caught
My
up
lips are
in the
dry.
disaster unfolding around them.
It happened really fast. I didn't expect the water to come all the way to where I was. You weren't just running.
You know, they're blessed by the sea and they are cursed by the sea. They have what's the word? You know, the fishing and the good stuff that comes from being an island. LOL, says Pelhorse. Oh no,
You're running for your life.
Japan's
I'm so
tsunami
slow.
caught on
I don't know
camera.
what's going on anymore. Ah! Earthquake!
I kept saying in my head, please stop now, please.
Pause. When it comes to efficiency and reliability, no other electricity source can match nuclear. Nuclear power plants can continuously generate large-scale around-the-clock electricity for many months at a time without interruption. Nuclear energy supplies about 10% of the world's electricity and approximately 20% of the energy in the United States. A total of 30 countries worldwide are operating 440 nuclear reactors for electricity generation. Germany hates nuclear power plants for some reason. For decades, GE and Hitachi have been at the forefront of nuclear technology, setting the industry benchmark for reactor design and construction and helping utility customers operate their plants safely and reliably. And then my next thing I have is comparing Fukushima and Chernobyl. But first, let's watch. And we have to watch nuclear bombs go off too, just for fun. They're scary and cool.
At 2:46 p.m. on March 11th, 2011, a massive earthquake.
Hold on. I just want to say, you know, it only briefly crossed my mind the possibility of, you know, I've heard people talk about like just the possibility that we can trigger, you know, earthquakes on purpose, possibly. It might be, I don't know if that's like true or not. HAARP? HAARP? I don't know. I haven't really looked into it, but I asked someone on Telegram about it and they were like, they brought up that earthquake that occurred at a very inopportune time in Australia when people were trying to protest the lockdowns, suggesting that maybe that was one of the fake quakes, earth fakes. No, I don't know. Words.
The east coast of Japan.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to say. Also, 311 might be a special day, a special number. I don't know. 31111. Esoteric. Maybe not. I feel stupid now. Shh.
I ran outside but was unable to stay standing up because the ground was shaking so much. I got down on my hands and knees and waited for it to pass.
This earthquake was extremely long, so I thought a tsunami would come.
Mother of all
Triggered
earthquakes.
the largest tsunami in Japan's history.
That's crazy. Whoa.
20,000 people died or remain missing.
Bye-bye, houses.
This unique record was filmed by survivors in 6 devastated towns. This is their story, told in their own words, videos, and photos.
We wake up and see the sea. We talk about the sea, if it's quiet or if it has waves, as we've always done together. When you live by the sea, you depend on it, and it's part of your life.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
My house was located just in front of the sea.
Cool fish.
I lived
I
there
mean, for food.
40 years.
I mean, they're cool too, but I just.
The sea was like our great mother.
taste.
It was like our treasure.
It's good for you.
We have always received blessings from the sea.
Good for your brain. Oils. Ah! Oh yeah, Chile. I was just saying the other day how funny Chile is. It's like, I'm just gonna take up the whole coastline of South America. Is that cool with you guys? Can I just have the whole western coastline? You know, take 2 steps this way, you're stepping in another country, but you can go that way or that way in many miles, and it's Chile. It's kind of shaped like a chili too, a little bit.
51年前のチリ地震津波
Skinny,
The Chile
long,
earthquake happened the year before I was born. My father decided they should evacuate. While they were evacuating, they got overtaken by the tsunami, and I lost my older sister. She was 9. My sister died. My mother had given birth to her relatively late
Hold
in
on.
life.
I'm like at the end of the hour here, and I'm only now going like the Fukushima accident, also called Fukushima nuclear accident or Fukushima Daiichi nuclear accident. Probably saying stuff wrong. In 2011, northern Japan, second worst nuclear accident in history of nuclear power generation. The site is on Japan's. Okay, what caused it? Tsunami waves generated by the main shock of the Japan earthquake on March 11th damaged the backup generators at the Fukushima Daiichi plant. Although all three of the reactors that were operating were successfully shut down, the loss of power caused cooling systems to fail, and each of them within the first few days of the disaster. Rising residual heat within each reactor's core caused the fuel rods in reactors 1, 2, and 3 to overheat and partially melt down, leading at times to the release of radiation. Melted material fell to the bottom of the containment vessels in reactors 1 and 2 and bored sizable holes in the floor of each vessel, a fact that emerged in late May. Those holes partially exposed the nuclear material in the cores. Explosions resulting from the buildup of pressurized hydrogen gas occurred in the outer containment buildings enclosing reactors 1 and 3 on March 12th and March 14th, respectively. So yeah, there was an explosion. Workers sought to cool and stabilize the 3 cores by pumping seawater and boric acid into them. Boric acid. Because of concerns over possible radiation exposure, government officials established a 30-kilometer, 18-mile, no-fly zone around the facility. They kept having to expand that as time went on, I think. 12.5-mile radius around the plant, which covered nearly 600 square kilometers or 232 square miles, was evacuated. A third explosion occurred on March 15th in the building surrounding Reactor 2. At that time, the explosion was thought to have damaged the containment vessel housing the fuel rods. In actuality, the explosion punched a second hole in the containment vessel. The first hole had been created earlier by melted nuclear material that passed through the bottom of the vessel. In response, government officials designated a wider zone extending to a radius of 30 kilometers around the plant, within which residents were asked to remain indoors. The explosion, along with a fire touched off by rising temperatures in spent fuel rods stored in Reactor 4, led to the release of higher levels of radiation from the plant. In the days that followed, some 47,000 residents left their homes. Many people in the areas adjacent to the 20-kilometer evacuation warning zone also prepared to leave, and workers at the plant made several attempts to cool the reactors using truck-mounted water cannons and water dropped from helicopters. Those efforts met with some success, which temporarily slowed the release of radiation. However, they were suspended several times after rising steam or smoke signaled an increased risk of radiation exposure. Kind of wanted to look at like what radiation exposure does to you too. I remember it being kind of scary in the Chernobyl show. I mean, yeah. On April 12th, nuclear regulators elevated the severity level of the nuclear emergency from 5 to 7, the highest level on the scale created by the International Atomic Energy Agency, placing it in the same category as the Chernobyl accident, which had occurred in the Soviet Union in 1986. It was not until the middle of December 2011 that Japanese Prime Minister Noda Yoshihiko declared the facility stable after the cold shutdown of the reactors was completed. As the fallout pattern became better understood, an additional corridor of land covering roughly 207 square kilometers and stretching away from the initial 20-kilometer zone was also designated for evacuation. Okay, well, anyway. A 2016 study on the effects of the accident on fish and marine products showed that the contamination level had decreased dramatically over time, though the radioactivity of some species, especially sedentary rockfish, remained elevated within the exclusion zone. A second but smaller nuclear accident took place in August 2013 when approximately 300 tons of irradiated water used in ongoing cooling operations in reactors 1, 2, and 3 was discharged into the landscape surrounding the Fukushima Daiichi facility. TEPCO officials reported that the leak was the result of an open valve in the short barrier wall that surrounded several of the tanks, and that was a level 3 nuclear incident. Where was the part where it was comparing Fukushima and Chernobyl? Both the 2011 accident at the Fukushima facility in Japan and the Chernobyl accident in the former Soviet Union in '86 required countermeasures to protect the public. The fact netted both accidents the highest rating on the International Nuclear Event scale. The accident at Chernobyl stemmed from a flawed reactor design and human error. It released about 10 times the radiation that was released after the Fukushima accident. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency, there was less total atmospheric release of radioactivity from the Fukushima accident compared with Chernobyl due to the different accident scenarios and mechanisms of radioactive releases. So Chernobyl was way worse, I guess. In Chernobyl, the release started with a nuclear criticality accident, which triggered an in-core steam explosion, causing an intensive ejection of the overheated core material and extensive burning of graphite and reactor materials over a long period of time. In that show, there were families going with their kids to like watch the weird explosion thing. It was like shooting a light up into the sky or something. I wonder if there's pictures of that. The release was not confined because that type of reactor did not have a containment structure as designed in all U.S. reactors. As a result, radioactivity had a direct open path to the environment, enhanced by entrainment in the smoke from the burning graphite. At Fukushima, there were no explosions within the cores. Rather, progressive heating, oxidation, and meltdown of the cores occurred over a much longer period of time. The radioactive products were thus released from the core much more gradually, with some of the radioactive material confined by containment structures, which partially retained the radioactivity. The Japanese government moved rapidly to implement protective measures, evacuating people and halting food shipments from the area. The government also distributed potassium iodide to residents near the facility to prevent their thyroid glands from absorbing radiation. These actions limited any adverse health effects from the accident. Conversely, authorities in the former Soviet Union were slow to act to protect the supply of food and milk, which led to a spike in thyroid cancers among children and adolescents from consuming contaminated foodstuffs. No deaths from radiation exposure have been attributed to the accident at Fukushima. Separate studies published in 2013 by the United Nations and the World Health Organization concluded that health risks from radiation released during the Fukushima accident are minimal, even for those most affected, and there are essentially no health effects outside Japan. At Chernobyl, 28 highly exposed workers died within 4 months of the accident. Experts say that there is some evidence, it's in quotes, of an increased risk of leukemia and cataracts among workers who received higher doses when engaged in recovery efforts. Long-term health monitoring of these workers is ongoing. As of 2005, about 15 children had died from thyroid cancer. Improved monitoring has been implemented to help ensure that thyroid cancer is detected early when it is highly treatable. However, countermeasures taken over the next few years after the accident kept radiation doses relatively low. The resulting doses should not lead to substantial health effects in the general population, according to a 2011 report from the United Nations.
She said she wanted one more child. So the next year, I was born. My whole life
I want to watch the
I was
explosion.
born because my sister died in a tsunami.
Is there a video of the Chile tsunami? Pause. Pause. This computer. It's Brave. It's the Brave browser. Okay. I want to look at explosions. This one's from Russia. This is a hydrogen bomb.
Полевой столб, поднимающийся с земли, быстро увеличился в объеме.
Oh my god.
Через несколько секунд после взрыва диаметр полевого столба составлял около 10
I have
километров.
conflicting emotions about it. Was that like a pillar of fire?
В это же время самолет в размерах, облако медленно поднималось вверх. В своем конечном развитии оно достигло высоты 60-60 километров. В дальнейшем облако начало утрачивать грибообразную форму. А диаметр ножки 26-28 километров. Испытание особо мощного водородного заряда, имеющего ряд новых конструктивных особенностей,
So
подтвердило,
crazy.
что Советский Союз готов.
Let's watch another one.
That would really spark people's interest around on, what's that big cloud? Had you been outside here in Albuquerque, you would have seen the skylight.
I know it's not really the same thing. I just felt like.
And wonder what was that?
Wasn't until later, after Japan was bombed, that the U.S. revealed its nuclear test. Where do they do that? New Mexico? Federal researchers studying whether the fallout in New Mexico caused health problems.
This was probably not long after the bomb because I think he was about 5 years old in that photo.
Area resident Tina Cordova claims her father died of cancer due to the blast, and
we
others
were
are still
never
suffering.
given the opportunity to do anything to protect ourselves before or after. What we want as downwinders is, number one, recognition by the U.S. government that they did this to us, that they came here, that they performed this test, and that
did it
they
in
walked
Utah,
away
too.
and left us for 70 years to deal with it on our own.
Thought I heard something about Utah, or at least they like to store it here or something. What is this? Rare nuclear bomb footage reveals their true power.
On July 16, 1945, the United States tested the first atomic bomb, called Trinity. Over the next 5 decades, the country tested...
So I heard that Japan had already requested terms of surrender or something. Like, they had put forth, like, a request. They signaled that they were getting ready to surrender before we dropped the bombs on them. If that's true, that's fucked up. It does sort of seem like someone was just eager to use the bombs. I don't like that shit.
More than 200 bombs in the atmosphere. The explosions, called shots, were recorded by dozens of high-speed cameras on film for analysis of the bomb's destructive power. Now, there's a race on to preserve and digitize those films. Thousands of them.
So some of the cans that we opened up, especially the Trinity films, are quite old. Those that actually turned to dust and had to be destroyed.
Nuclear physicist Greg Spriggs is leading the effort at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. He's working with film specialist Jim Moy to scan and analyze those original test films. The U.S. stopped testing nuclear bombs in 1992, and these films are now some of the best data scientists have to work with.
So this particular film was running about 1,500 frames a second. So we not only captured the shock wave, the reflected shock wave, we're also able to get the yield off of it, and now we're also watching how the mushroom cloud forms.
Spriggs saw his first atomic
It's weird
bomb
how
in
it almost looks like it's something's.
Kid,
It almost looks like something in the sky is drawing the material upwards.
And he was
but
stationed
I
on
don't know.
Midway Island out
I
in the
don't
middle of the Pacific, and they were doing some high altitude testing over Johnson Island.
Starfish detonated at its planned strength and height.
Shot was detonated about 10 p.m. It was pitch black outside. When it went off, the sky, it looked like it was noon, and it took about 15 minutes for the sky to go through all these different colors and end up coming back to being pitch black again. Had I known I was going to be a nuclear engineer later on or a nuclear physicist, I would have paid more attention, but to me it was just a bright flash.
In those days, figuring out the power of a bomb was done by measuring the size of the mushroom cloud.
That almost reminds me of like a
shock waves,
milk
or recorded
droplet
light
in slow
intensity of an explosion in a bomb film, and it was done by hand.
It would have taken.
Pale horse, just a happy, fun candy cloud, kids. My grandfather was in the army, occupied Japan right after they surrendered. He said the firebombing that occurred in Tokyo was way worse than either of the atomic bombs. I've heard that too, actually. It was basically the same thing they did to Dresden, right? Saturation bombing. Civilians, not cool. Not cool. Of course, these were very small ones compared to most. These ones? Or
an army of workers a month to just get the light pulse off of one film.
And as Spriggs has discovered, that data was often scattered and calculations off by as much as 20%.
We were trying to figure out if there was actually some piece of physics that we were missing. The only way to resolve this was to get a hold of the original films and start to reanalyze them to find out whether the data was valid and we were actually missing a piece of physics, or the physics was okay and the data was not that good.
Now they have a Swedish film scanner and
Oh,
sophisticated computer
this is
models.
not related, but just sort of as a PS from last week's episode. We talked about Project Bluebeam. I just thought it was randomly weird that Werner von Braun, however you say it, he the guy who started NASA or whatever, he wrote a fictional book about a Mars expedition, and the person in charge of the expedition to Mars had the title of Elon. There's a weird coincidence, you know, because Elon Musk.
Going through miles of film to get a better sense of the power,
Hiroshima,
fallout, and potential destruction of a nuclear bomb.
We're very hopeful that we're going to learn some new things here that they just did not have the technology to do back in the 50s and the 60s.
Ah, scary. I want to see more. Pros and cons. Nuclear energy pros and cons. The pros are carbon-free electricity, small land footprint, high power output, reliable energy source. The cons of nuclear energy. Uranium is technically non-renewable. However, it is plentiful. Very high upfront costs. Nuclear waste. Malfunctions can be catastrophic. On the pro side, nuclear energy is a carbon-free electricity source with other environmental benefits as well. It needs a relatively small land area to operate and is a great energy source for reliable baseload power for the electric grid. On the con side, nuclear is technically a non-renewable source of energy. Nuclear plants have a high upfront cost associated with them, and nuclear waste and operation of nuclear plants in general poses some environmental and health challenges. Below we'll explore these pros and cons in further detail. Oh, it was 15 meters. The tsunami was 15 meters after the earthquake, Fukushima. All 3 cores largely melted in the first 3 days. Level 7. Official figures show that there have been 2,313 disaster-related deaths among evacuees from Fukushima Prefecture. Disaster-related deaths are in addition to the about 19,500 that were killed by the earthquake or tsunami. Holy crap. Ugh. It says there have been no other deaths or cases of I'm going backwards. Why do I do things backwards? Apart from cooling, the basic ongoing task was to prevent release of radioactive materials, particularly in... Oh my god, I was seeing one guy, he lost his wife and his daughter, and he was trying to find them, and he had one daughter left, but he didn't want to leave. But then someone had to say to him, the living are more important than the dead, and it was just really sad. And he's like, I've got to protect my daughter, the one daughter I have left, and really sad, hard times. Makes you wonder about him for sure. Yeah, it is a very strange coincidence. I'm like, okay, odd. Just a thought, in the spirit of the topic being meltdowns, are you going to talk about Will Smith at all? Well, he got banned from the Oscars for 10 years. He gets to keep the Oscar that he won. His wife openly criticizes his performance in the bedroom, so she kind of publicly emasculates him. So I do kind of feel bad for him for that. She's kind of an asshole. I don't really like to criticize people, but she just kind of seems like an asshole. An example of how not to treat your husband, perhaps. Over 100,000 people were evacuated from their homes. Government nervousness has delayed the return of many. Government nervousness? Government nervousness. Timeline. I don't know. I guess I'm pretty much done. Hope from hell. Tsunamis are scary. I kind of want to just look up tsunami footage, maybe. That's fine. A rare look at the meltdown. A rare look? Yeah, those guys were trapped inside the nuclear facility. Not sure if they would survive the incident. But like, they wanted to run, but they couldn't. And if they did, they might have exposed themselves by leaving like the building they were in. It was like outside, so they couldn't really run. Scary. So scary. So scary. The earthquake. Wait. Now it says 7.4 magnitude. Oh, what's going on? Oh, that's 2022. I pulled up the wrong earthquake. Yeah, this is the one they just had. Man, they sure get a lot of earthquakes. Was a man-made disaster, says official report. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess. There are a couple natural disasters that triggered it, but meow meow. He said meow. Came and said meow. Oh, radiation exposure. You are exposed to ionizing radiation every day from natural and human-made sources. Natural radiation comes from the soil, which contains a number of radioactive elements such as uranium, radium, and thorium. High-energy radiation also reaches the Earth from far in outer space. Human-made radiation is the greatest source of exposure today, primarily in medical imaging and procedures. In fact, medical uses of radiation account for 98% of exposure to artificial radiation. In contrast, nuclear power plants account for less than 1% of exposure. Is radiation harmful? Like many tools, radiation brings humanity a number of significant benefits: cancer treatment, pest control, smoke detection, medical sterilization, space travel, clean energy. These are ways that nuclear science and technology improve our lives. Handled correctly, radiation is a safe and powerful tool. Using radiation safely. How much radiation you receive depends on three things: time, distance, and shielding. Time. The amount of radiation exposure you receive increases the longer you are near the source. Radiation workers are exposed to radiation every day. So they wear dosimeters, devices that measure the amount of radiation a worker receives as they work. Very few people who do not work with radioactivity spend enough time near a powerful source. Distance. Distance can be used to reduce exposure. The farther away you are from a radiation source, the less your exposure. In fact, doubling the distance from a source of radiation decreases the exposure rate to 1/4 the original exposure rate. Okay. Shielding. Shielding is the placement of the material that reduces radiation between the radiation source and you, like the lead apron a radiologist places over your body. Yeah, like at the dentist. Alpha rays, beta rays, gamma rays, X-rays, neutron rays. Different types of radiation require different absorbers. Okay, anyway, I guess I'm just about done here. 3 Mile Island, Pennsylvania. Nobody died. Not that big a deal. The China syndrome. That's weird. The movie came out. Did the movie come out after 3 Mile Island? Dealt with the aftermath of a fictional nuclear meltdown at a reactor outside of Los Angeles. So the movie came out right before. Weird. So the 3 Mile Island, Pennsylvania thing. March 28th, 1979, a mechanical or electric failure set off an unlikely series of events that led to a partial meltdown at the Unit 2 reactor. Whatever. Not a big deal. Okay, I'm done. I don't know. The end. The end? Question mark? Yeah, it's the end. Okay, thank you. I'm going to go now. I appreciate your time and attention. And have a good night. Have a good week. Be brave. Hang in there. You're not alone. I don't know. Okay, bye.